to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
And here we are, episode 455 of the Trinity Force Podcast. We are live on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on twitch.tv/T-Force Podcast. If you're out there, you can go ahead and subscribe to us for $5 a month by giving us your money. Just like through Patreon, you help us get some items to you. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, then you missed the post that I made today, and you need to go check out patreon.com/T-Force Network to go check that out. All I'm going to say is we're making some really, really, really cool patches, and if you want to see those, you're going to have to roll over there and check that out. It's actually open to everybody. You don't have to be a Patreon subscriber to see it.
That's what you were talking about on Twitter.
Yes, but they're very, very, very cool. They're going to be very cool. So, if you guys want to go check that out again, patreon.com/T-Force Network. I'm joined by Dom, Punch, and Moon, or Marine Revenge, however you know him by, as everybody starts to spam me, and there's lots of background noise going on. It is a great evening. Yeah, yell at your girlfriend. Tell her to close the goddamn door. Get out of here. Get, go. All right,
good start.
The good start.
Okay.
The door slowly creaks open and closes. This is the way we like to do our podcast, with lots of background noise. But we have a lot to talk about tonight as patch 7.14 hit the Rift, and we have a lot to talk about in the patch. So I'm going to ask everybody on the show, normally in true T-Force fashion, we decide to spend a lot of time on the first half an hour, and then we have to race through the last half an hour because we spend too much fucking time talking about champions. So while we are going to start with Garen, because we know Marine is our Garen expert, I don't want to spend 15 minutes talking about Garen. I want to spend like 2 minutes to 3 minutes on each champion, if that, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. So
we'll see.
There's a lot of top lane stuff. I feel like that can get more attention. You know, the other lanes got pretty quick changes, but
so
we can jump right into it.
Yeah. Go ahead. So Garen got some changes in this patch. You're going to have to read off what he had, or at least give a TLDR of the changes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see him right here on the screen.
So the passive changes, basically your out of combat regen. It was 2% at level 1 to 10, 4% at level 11 to 15, and 10% at level 16 plus. Now it's just 2% and 8%. The only dividing level is at 11. With that change, the cooldown at 11 is now dropping down to 4 as well. So basically, you're getting the 16 cooldown at level 11, and you're getting most of the 16 regen at level 11. This is actually pretty significant for your mid game. It just means that you can roam around the map, and you don't have to back unless you want to get items now. Pretty much around the mid game. They've added a flat damage reduction and tenacity, 60% for both, for 0.75 seconds to Garen's W. Basically, timing this properly, you're going to shrug off huge amounts of damage or big crowd control abilities. And then for your E, they buffed the ratio 2% of your total attack damage per spin flat, just across the board. I had a chance to play about 5 or 6 games today with these changes. The passive and the W changes are pretty significant. But honestly, the E change is it's there, but it's not super game breaking. Honestly, I think this change is mostly in response to the fact that Garen's damage items got a lot of nerfs. The attack damage got reduced on Garen's AD items across the board. Cleaver used to be 55 and it was 50, and now it's 40, and Ghostblade was 65 and now that's 55. So I think this is just to offset the fact that his items got reduced AD a little bit. That's pretty much my input.
I did watch you play him earlier, and I'm curious if the passive is bugged or if it's just absurd the amount of the healing you get back now at level 11. Because I think it was that you were out of combat for all of 5 seconds and you were pretty much already full. And that's not me saying like you were at 75%. You were at 100% for like 25% within seconds. So I kind of wonder. I kind of wonder if Perseverance is a little bugged right now.
Well, so I was reading a little bit about this in some Reddit threads, and the juxtaposition, as I understood it, was that most other bruisers of this ilk like have some type of in combat regen, which Garen doesn't really have. And I think that's why Riot sort of said, okay, if he's not going to get to regain anything while he's in a fight, when a fight ends or while we're waiting, for one to start up and everything, he's going to be king of just sitting there and getting held back and everything. I mean, this makes Mundo's regen look, just pathetic. And so I think that's the idea that they're going for right here is that, okay, if you don't kill Garen, don't even bother trying to chase him down because he's going to turn around and murder you. Because he's going to restore all of his life back.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned that regeneration at level 11 increases to 16% of his health when he's below 50% maximum health. So that's a ton of regeneration when you're at low health. So you're going to get to that 50% mark pretty quickly, and then you still got the 8% maximum health regeneration after that.
That's why I said I wonder if it's bugged, because it looked like it was doing the 16%. Past 50%. Like if he was at 25% and he got out of combat, it just went all the way up to full.
I don't know, honestly. I didn't pay attention well enough to see. I do know there was a bug before where sometimes you would get the level 16 regen after level 11, even when you weren't 16. So it's possible there's a bug there. I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
It may just be that I'm not used to looking
at
it. So, well, if it's in the game, it's a bug. I don't think you can be banned for it unless you're kind of like doing something to make it happen, right?
Yeah, there's no control over that. It's a passive, so.
Well,
I'm not gonna not pick the champion. That's stupid.
Right. Scrub mentality. Singed, another top lane champion, he got changed in this patch. He got quite a number of changes going into here. His base health has been significantly increased to 610 from 542.76, and his health growth has been increased to 90 from 82. So he's getting a lot tankier. And
check, but that should put him like near the very top for those two stats.
Well, hold on. It kind of breaks even with the change to his passive.
Sure, but I mean, with his passive, you used to have to buy something to get all of that bonus health, and now you don't.
Yeah, this will change his optimal build a little bit, and it could be for better, it could be for worse. We'll have to see.
His old passive still kicked in, though, based on his maximum mana. So if you're just looking at base stats alone, Singed gets a tiny bit less health just because he's not gaining that health from his mana anymore.
Sure,
just
but
base mana.
Some of Singe's problems, like I think after all these changes, even before, I think Singed was a pretty good solo queue champion to use, and he was great if you knew how to use all the nuances of Singed, and that's just what comes with the way this champion plays. And that some of Singe's problem early game was being able to survive until he got to level 2 or level 3, and so when you just tack on a bunch of base health onto his, at level 1 more so than you would have with the extra mana you may receive, does help him push into that mid and late game, or rather the mid, early, and mid game where he wants to be running around and being unstoppable.
Well, I guess I have to look at the data again, but from what I've seen across the board, his health is relatively even based on what it would be with the base mana he had previously in his passive. So I don't think his health has actually increased. I think they just made this change because they took it away out of his passive.
And that's fair. If that's true, that's fair.
Yeah. But I mean, he got buffed across the board everywhere else. So
passive is now Noxious Slipstream. When Singed passes within 225 range of a champion, he drifts off of them, gaining 20% bonus movement speed for 2 seconds. This effect has a champion unique 10-second cooldown.
To Tokyo Drift. That's Singed now.
Yeah,
he's the Tokyo Drifter.
I like it. That's a cool passive.
Poison Trails had its damage reduced as base, but he's had an ability power increase, ratio increase to make up for it. It was 44 to 140, it is now 40 to 120 with a 0.8 ability power ratio.
This is an interesting change. I think it's cool that they're incentivizing building AP, but honestly, Singe is pretty scary when he has a lot of AP and he's like ahead.
Mhm.
So, like as is with the current AP or how it used to be with the old AP ratio. So, hopefully he doesn't snowball too hard. Hopefully not needing to build mana and having a high AP ratio doesn't mean that like suddenly he's like death cap, and like just rolls people.
Oh god. Yeah, 0.8 ability power when it ticks that quickly is rather scary.
Yeah, the chat's saying it breaks even at 200 to 100 or 20 to 100 AP. So anything past that, it's just a straight buff. Mega Adhesive W. Area duration is now only 3 seconds, down from 5. It now grounds the unit within the Mega Adhesive puddle, which is...
That's big.
That's
That's
big.
really big. That's huge.
The slow is now 40% at all ranks. It was increasing, which is great. The cost has been decreased. It was 70 to 110, is now 60 to 100, and the cooldown has been increased from 14 at all ranks to 17 to 13.
I mean, I assume this was his 1-point wonder to begin with, but if it wasn't for some reason, like now there's no reason to put points into it.
I think there was... It depends on the Singe and the person you're following. Some Singes weren't even putting points in the W early. It's kind of like Karthus W. Just kind of worthless because you didn't really need it for anything.
So if you treat it as that 1.1, you get a 5% additional slow, but it's going to have a 3-second longer cooldown,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah, and I mean,
And then
it's
the
not on
cost
the ground.
reduction.
It'll be really interesting to see exactly how the grounding affects people because so like certain characters like Darius ult doesn't work like when you're Morgana snared because it's considered like your character has to move to an extent. So I don't know, like does this prevent Darius ult? Like, that
No,
would be
so
a huge
it's
utility.
Can you use Darius's ult when he's in Cassiopeia's miasma or whatever that ability is?
What is that? Like that purple
W.
AoE on the ground, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
so then it should work that way. It's like, but you won't be able to Ezreal blink out of it or Lucian dash or any of that type of stuff.
Which makes it
If
even
you're
better.
in the slow, yeah.
Well, it
for
makes
some
it better
you know,
because
some
you
cases.
can drop it on somebody, ground them. They can't flash out. They can't dash, whatever it is. And plus, it still has that snaring effect if you could toss them back on it. So even if they make it out of the Mega Adhesive and you catch up, right back into it. And now you're snared.
And that passive, there's no escaping Singe. How do you escape Singe now? There's no way.
Oh my
That's true.
God. He's going to make it to the back line so quickly. It's amazing.
No, yeah, this changes a lot about how you end up playing Singe and everything. He had that weird reputation as a champion that was just like always going to split push and like maybe show up for team fights if he felt like it. But now I can almost see people like wanting to start team fights because you're not going to kill him. You're not going to get away from him. He's going to like once he gets a couple items, he's just going to get into a game and run around and do literally whatever the hell he wants, and you have no say in the matter.
Fling, the cost has decreased from 100 to 140. It is now 80 to 140. So it's cheaper early, which is makes it a better harass tool, which is nice because he was already having... You are potentially not building... I guess potentially now you're not building the tier anymore on him. You're likely going like a Catalyst into Roa because of the passive change, so you don't actually have that extra mana for Fling.
Well, the passive change and all of these mana cost reductions, yeah, he doesn't... Oh, he might need to get one mana item, I'm not sure, but he
Like,
definitely
right.
doesn't need to get a tier.
Yeah,
Well,
I can
that
see him
seems like
going
huge
for Roa.
buffs. It seems like huge buffs, but it's not. It's just changes to offset how they expect him to build differently.
Sure. An Insanity Potion has had the mana decreased to 100. The bonus stats has been increased. It's 35, 60, 85 from 35, 50, 80. So getting a little extra.
I look at this and I just think, God, the guy's kind of just a ball of stats now, like even more so than he was before.
Yeah, biggest increase in the mid game. Should we push Chura to play this guy more?
Yes, because Chira loves the Poison Man.
He is the poison man.
Man.
Well, he has the Blood Man, and now this is
And
the Poison Man.
He's the Mad
The Tree
Man.
Man.
He's the Mad Man.
Oh, yes, and the Tree Man.
And the bird man.
So Cho'gath getting a bunch of changes. Cho'gath has been an interesting champ to watch because Riot has been doing a lot with the champion. to try to bring him back to be playing. And I think they have finally hit the nail on the head with these changes, on top of all the feast changes in the past. Because if he doesn't become a decent jungler out of this, I think he becomes a pretty good top lane with these changes. So Vorpal Spikes has been gutted and changed. So it is now, you activate it. It has a cooldown of 8 to 4 seconds. It costs 30 mana to activate. There's a base damage from 20 to 80 with a 0.3 ability power. It's the same as it was before. However, by activating it, you now get 4% maximum target's maximum health plus 0.5% per feast stack. Decaying slow 30, 35, 40, 45, 50% over 1.5 seconds, and now grants 50 extra basic attack range, and now resets Cho'gath's basic attack timer. Now you get 3 basic attacks when you do this. So basically, you basic attack, press E, and now the next 3 basic attacks you're doing 4% of the target's maximum health plus 5.5% per feast stack.
I like the feast stack. I like the incentive. The incentive there.
Right. So before it was toggle on, toggle off. This is even better. Like, it's more burst. There's nothing bad about this item because you're not really using Vorpal Spikes in lane unless you want to push really hard. So and this is going to push a wave out, and the cooldown's going to reset. It's just costing you more mana to push a wave. So there is some counterplay to it there, and some skill based to use it in top lane. But still, it does more damage, which is phenomenal for him.
Things that reset your basic attack timer have so much unappreciated value. Oh, like that is a whole bunch of extra damage that people aren't going to really appreciate that they're getting just because he can auto attack and then press a button and auto attack again.
Because it has 3 stats that scale per point you put into it: cooldown, base damage, and decay and slow. Like, damage goes up, slow goes up, cooldown goes down. I wonder if this becomes like a second ability that he maxes, as opposed to the last one that you max that you put points into. I mean, the base damage is always going to be good. The damage you get per point you put into it really isn't all that much compared to the target maximum health damage you're doing. So you don't want to be putting points into it to half the cooldown from 8 to 4 seconds at max rank, and then to get that slow up 20%. But I mean, a 4-second cooldown on this seems pretty good.
I guess it depends what it depends what school of thought that you subscribe to, because there's some Cho'gaths that max E out of top lane, and there's some Cho'gaths that max Q and then W, right? So depending if you just want to use Q as your 1-point wonder and then use E as all your damage, which I don't think is a bad idea with these changes.
I wonder if it's matchup dependent. Like, if you're going up against a squishy opponent, you just level Q, W, and then burn them down with a feast. Or if you're going up against another tank, Vorpal Spikes with that maximum health damage.
There's probably no reason to max Q unless you want the cooldown reduced, to be honest with you. Because they changed Q, the damage has been reduced by 5. It's been reduced at 5 at max rank. That's it. It's 80 to 300 rather than 80 to 305.
It's negligible.
It's so negligible. The mana cost is huge, though. It's 60 mana from 90, so you've reduced 30 mana on that. I'm sure that's to offset the Vorpal Spikes changes, but still. And Feral Scream silence duration has gone up, so I don't see why you're not maxing EW than Q now with the silence duration increasing.
But it didn't.
Scream.
So it increased at the earlier ranks, but it's still the same duration at its max rank.
Right. But 0.1 second across the board is it's not.
No, I agree.
Across the board, but still.
I can't believe they did this. That silence is already too long, and then they gave more while they're adding a whole bunch of other buffs to it. Like, I fucking hate that silence. You're silenced for forever.
What'd they do? Oh, they gave you 0.1, 0.75, and then started shaving. Oh, they gave you what did they give you? 0.1, 0.7, 0.5, 0.25. That's what they did. And then... Yeah, no, I just expected given everything else that's going on with this champion, and it sounds like he's coming out better, for the most part and everything, I'm surprised the silence duration still stayed at 2 seconds. They've tended to really shy away from anything that keeps somebody, any type of crowd controlled for that long. And this is a cone, this can hit a ton of people. I'm just surprised that this one didn't get nerfed down. Yeah. I think people should. I like this. I like these changes. Go play Cho'gath for sure.
Maybe they target that duration in the future. I just feel like there are so many other areas they had to fix for Cho'gath first before they start picking things to nerf.
Yeah, but why not give him a little more power and let him jump up from his 43% win rate that he's sitting at right now at a top lane and let him get to 50%, and then you can toad shit around if he gets any higher, right? Like, let the dude
Sure.
have
I
his
do.
son.
I do agree with what you said at the start. Like, I think he's going to be really good at the jungle now.
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
some
so-
people, or sorry, I was just
No,
saying,
no
I've heard some people in the top lane chat and the Garen chat or whatever say that Cho'gath is a monster right now for Garen to deal with. I haven't played against him personally, but I think that E is going to be crazy against any melee without a lot of mobility. Like, I'm seeing that slow coming off the spikes and like with the high percent health damage.
Right.
It just seems like it's really hard to deal with, just really punishing if you're an immobile character.
Slow.
Well,
and
the
then
funny
knock up
part
to
is
a rupture.
it's high percent health damage from rank 1. It's not like it's getting better just by So there's a lot going on there.
So-
But he auto attacks one person, and then basically you should hit every single one of his abilities from there because they're slowed from the get go.
And
Right.
that was
even
what
though,
was
even though
always
it's
wrong with
decaying slow.
Cho'gath.
Yeah.
That was always what was wrong with Cho'gath to begin with. Was, his Q and his W were super strong, but they have these kind of like awkward animations or like delays on the abilities that are hard to land. Now that he has a slow, like, are Q and W going to be too strong now that they're way more reliable?
I think so.
Good point.
Like,
Right. Let's talk about
It'd be much harder to
Fiora.
miss Q now. Yeah.
People been bitching about Fiora for a while, primarily for the higher elos and professional play, because Fiora just hits a point and does Fiora things. Passive dual stance bonus movement speed has been decreased from 20 to 50 to 15 to 30. And Grand Challenge no longer grants dual stance movement speed while near the target. Keeping all the damage, not having the additional movement speed.
Right. So you mentioned pro play, and on the surface I agreed with you. Like yesterday, I agreed with you. I thought Fiora probably saw the majority of her success, the higher level play you got, because she's a high skill cap champion. But when I looked at the win rates, I was surprised to see that she was sitting around 50% for diamond and platinum, and then her win percentage went up the farther down you went.
Huh.
It was like 51% for gold, then 52% for silver and bronze. So I was pretty surprised to see that. But I don't think anyone's arguing that Fiora was a pain in the ass to lane against, and pretty much everyone except Fiora mains are happy that she got nerfed.
But does this do enough to take her out of contention? I don't know.
I think the change in her ultimate is quite a big deal, because she doesn't get that movement speed for free now, which means it's going to be a lot harder for her to get to all four sides of her opponent to proc all four
That's
vitals without her using some sort of cooldown like flash. So if she has to
without
burn a flash to
doing
hit all four
that,
sides.
and that's going to make it a lot harder for her to kill somebody
Yes.
just by pushing R.
It also just makes it easier to play against her. I mean, if she's not running circles around you with all that movement speed, now maybe you can keep enough space in between you so that you can keep your far vital away from her, or you can get to a wall in time to block that vital against the wall so that she can't get to it.
there are going to be some matchups top two where the nerf to the move speed on the passive is going to either allow them to trade with her before she was able to get away where they couldn't before. It'll just depend. Like, there aren't too many matchups where that little bit of move speed is going to like make or break it. But something like, say, Darius Hook, for example, if Darius isn't like super quick with the reaction, that 5% difference could have been like her out of range or not. So
It's a fair point.
hopefully,
that's a good point.
Hopefully it'll help somebody.
Let's talk about Yorick. Shepherd of Souls, his passive Mistwalkers now attack immediately upon landing from the E-jump. The base damage has been changed. It was 10 to 95. It is now 2 to 100 based on level. Mistwalker ratio is still the same. Morning Mist reaction range has been increased to 1400. Grave Despawn range has been increased to 2000. Eulogy of the Isles, the cooldown has been decreased. It was 160 to 140, is now 160 to 100. Base
Dear
health
God.
has been increased to 70 to 400, or 4,000, excuse me. The things that I've been reading about
700
Yorick.
to 4,000, not 70 to 4,000.
Sorry, yeah, you get. I'm missing zeros and adding zeros places. The things that I've been reading is the Eulogy of the Isles change doesn't do too much. I mean, it's great, thank you, but no one was popping Eulogy of the Isles while they were in a team fight. You're just using it for split pushing the entire time, because if it comes down, it dies. So even with the base health increase, it's still going to die when the time, early and mid game fights. Of course, having more consistent poke damage out of the passive is great. So Yorick mains like this. Everybody else just kind of shrugs their shoulders and goes, "Hey, there's Yorick. I can play him if I want."
I'm really
good.
interested to see how the damage, how this damage compares on the passive, because those ghouls are doing a lot less damage per hit early, but since they're much more responsive and they're going to get more attacks off, I don't know. I don't know, like, at what level this becomes a buff, or if it's a nerf for the first 5 levels. Or I don't know. It's hard to say. Because I mean, they're attacking as soon as they jump in now, but again, they're doing less damage per attack.
The fact that they're more responsive though counts for a lot, because you can kite them pretty easily depending on who you are. Whether you just used a little, a dash to get out, like Trinity spin, or, Fiora Q, Renekton E, whatever, or you just used like a move speed ability. I think they realize that making them attack almost instantly warranted the damage change.
Right. Well, the break-even point now, the difference at level 1 is 70%. Yorick ghouls are doing 30% less damage at level 1 when they land. The break-even point is level 12, and it increases to 103%. So you're getting 3.6% extra damage at level 18 with the ghouls.
And that's if they're doing the same amount of attacks. And we can probably assume that these are at least going to do an additional attack compared to the old one, since they get that attack right off the bat. So, I mean, Nickname in chat said he anticipates maybe it would break even around level 6.
Technically, just raw numbers, it breaks even at level 12. It's
right.
Not,
that's if they attack the same number of times, though.
I'm curious about this alt change suddenly, like having broader impact than we think it will. Like I know the strategy is to set up a split push with it, but given that Yorick is probably getting a lot of cooldown reduction through his items, realistically, this is going to be hovering around a 60-second cooldown, and you could almost use it for like a follow-up type of push after a skirmish is broken out, but he doesn't really have a good opportunity to get to a side lane. And just being able to suddenly have 4 ghouls available, given everything that we were otherwise just talking about, makes a big deal, in addition to all the other damage from the Maiden.
It's almost as strong as Herald, to be honest. Like, Yorick is almost as strong as Herald.
It can be, but so it's funny. I was reading the Yorick main subreddit earlier today. We're talking buffs. A lot of people are actually calling these all nerfs. Like these, especially with the lethality changes in the patch, Yorick got a lot worse. So these changes all mean moot and jack shit. And the numbers I read off are assuming a linear scaling. So actually, the nerfs are a lot heavier handed on his passive than at face value.
How many people were in that Reddit subreddit? Out of curiosity.
1,500.
Oh, it's a lot of Yorick mains, huh?
Mm-hmm.
More than I thought.
Yeah, subreddits aren't that big unless you got a popular champion, to be honest with you. So, I don't...
Like the Shurima subreddit?
I expected like 20 Yorick mains, honestly, so...
I want to skip over jungle, mid, marksman, supports and shit, because I really want to talk about all the items, because we're at 8:30, and I want to make sure we get those in, because those are probably the second biggest change in this patch.
We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Let's go over these Caitlyn changes for 20 minutes.
No, these items and lethality changes are pretty heavy.
All right, fine.
Caitlyn, her attack speed got nerfed.
Yeah, she doesn't scale as well. Grats. So lethality is now based on your level. We talked about that last patch. And completed lethality items grant more lethality and less attack damage. That's basically what they did across the board. The big ones now with the items, so Serrated Dirk, they changed the passive on it. They also did this with Poacher's Dirk. Headhunter is now, after killing an enemy, your next damaging spell will deal 40 physical damage to all enemies it hits. 40 bonus physical damage to all enemies it hits with a 30-second cooldown.
They specifically pointed out in the patch notes that this will speed up jungle clearing speed, and I gotta agree. I wish Sean was here to talk about that further. I don't really know if that suddenly makes Poacher's Dirk an appealing item in some way, but it's like, oh shit, yeah, that is a lot of extra damage you're getting every 30 seconds, give or take.
Probably not, because you still have to go and counter jungle a fuckload of camps to turn Poacher's Dirk into Serrated Dirk, and Cinder Hulk is still a really powerful item.
Yeah, that's true.
But Serrated Dirk now, because you can build Duskblade Drakthar, which is actually fucking broken on this patch.
Oh my god.
I'll just tell y'all right now, the ADCs are all buying it, so Lucian, Jhin, Misfortune.
Dude, I've been seeing Dravens with it. It's nasty.
Oh yeah.
And this is with the change that lethality is based off your level now. So if the ADC, who is tied for the lowest level in the game, is buying this, that's a problem.
It's because it's so cheap, right? It's 2,900 gold, and it's 3,400 gold to get Infinity Edge. You gain 18 lethality with this. You gain 55 attack damage, so 70 attack damage off of Infinity Edge. So you have the lethality, which pretty much makes up the difference. Not to mention you get Night Stalker damage on it, which is when you haven't been seen, etc. You get an extra physical damage on your first basic attack. Night Stalker also slows the target for 99% for 0.25 seconds.
Shit.
So your first
Jesus
auto attack.
Christ, that is
So it's like a mini interrupt.
unnecessary.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why they added
That's
that.
unnecessary.
And you get 10% cooldown reduction. So this item is fun. And
That's not a mini
and wait, it builds on a Serrated Dirk and Caulfield's Warhammer. Like this item's
That's not a
busted.
mini. That's old Phage. That's old Phage.
It's-
And that was
it's
a
basically a
problem
root.
item that they got rid of because there was the RNG element and everything, but that was why old Phage was causing a bunch of problems and they had to change it. And now they
forgot about
basically
that.
added it back to the game.
The slow was way longer though, wasn't it? Like 1.5.
Yeah,
seconds?
but it wasn't nearly as strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A 99% slow for even 0.25 seconds, that is a huge window for an 80 carry on a support, and probably a mid laner, top laner jungle too. Hey, that's huge.
Yeah, this item is broken right now. So if you're playing those champions that can abuse this item, go out there and go and abuse it till they fix it in patch 7.15, because we're going to see
And
some
start
win rates
banning
down on it.
Draven. Like, ban Draven. Get that guy out of your games.
Yeah.
Well, they did.
Yeah, since Caitlyn was nerfed, Draven, I mean, she was like the biggest counter to Draven. Now Draven's nothing's stopping him.
Right.
Actually, what I will say is that Duskblade must be really broken because I saw 2 Dravens today build Duskblade, and neither one of them built that dance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Dust Dance didn't get
shit.
nerfed in this patch, and that was the go-to Draven item. So,
And that's been deshelved, so...
well, why would you? You get the extra. You get a proc off with Night Stalker, right? Like you get an instant 105 to
You get
360 damage. And Draven's already chunking people. Ghostblade had to change to his 2,900 gold, but there's no reason to buy it as long as Drakthar is the same amount of money. Hey, by the way, top lane Garen, you might want to start buying Duskblade Drakthar rather than you as Ghostblade. I mean,
Everyone buy
I was
it.
wondering. Like,
I
I was just gonna bring
understand that
earlier.
I understand the
Garen
movement
is
speed
king
is
of hiding
huge.
in brush.
You need the gap closing, but what I should do is I should start building Drakthar second instead of Cleaver.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's king of hanging out in the brush, and so then all of a sudden you nuke them with a gigantic amount of damage.
Dude, I didn't realize
They're
how
not going
broken that
anywhere.
item was. Like, I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't either until I started I read a couple things and I went and looked at it. I went, oh, holy shit, yeah, this item is fucking broken. Ghostblade has had a change. Attack damage decreased to 55, lethality up to 18, out of combat movement speed to 40, but as long as Duskblade is around, Ghostblade probably won't see any play. Keep this item in mind, though, when Duskblade does get nerfed, because this item is better than it was before.
Can't you
With those
still
other
build
things.
both, though?
Sure.
You could.
But I'm coming from an 80 carry background, right? Like,
Okay, right.
Beyond that, what I really like about this change is that there's no longer that weird, oh, do I get Edge of Night or do I get Maw of Malmortius question that you have to ask yourself. Is it better to have a spell shield that I have to activate myself, or is it better to get, this magic damage blocking thing under other conditions and everything? And now it's just like, okay, if I just kind of need health and I want a spell shield, like that's a very clear, choice for you, and you can still get Maw. It's not a weird decision that you have to try and reach a consensus on.
Dom jumped right into Edge of Night without us talking about what got changed on it.
Oh, sorry.
For those of
I thought
out
you
there who
wanted-
wondered why we talked about Ghostblade and Dom jumped into Edge of Night.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Edge of Night.
Nope, Ghostblade. Edge of Night, lethality up to
That's not
18,
bad.
attack damage unchanged. Now grants an additional 250 health. No longer grants magic resistance and no longer grants 20 out of combat movement speed. The to Dom's point, this is what's been changed on it. It's now serrated dirk pickaxe, ruby crystal, 725 gold rather than the no magic mantle.
I swear to God, I heard you go over all that stuff. So, man, I thought I was paying attention, and clearly I wasn't.
Yeah, Edge and Night getting better.
Is it? Is this really better?
You
I mean, people used to buy this because of the active, and since the active's been garbage, no one has picked it up anymore.
I mean, yes, it's better. There's no reason. There was no reason
because
for
the
it to
health
have
is more
magic
useful.
Because health is more.
Health is more useful. Lethality is a little higher.
The lethality. So it's a little more damage than it was for the same gold, and the health is like it's like a trade-off. Maybe you really wanted the MR, but health makes it more of a general. You can build it without needing the magic resist and still feel good about it.
Right. A ruby crystal feels better to sit on as an assassin than a no magic mantle would. Right. Like if you have to buy that because you need a little bit extra.
And I guess the other thing is that once you upgrade your serrated dirk into a duskblade, you can get a second one because that new passive on it is actually really useful.
So I'm just thinking as an AD carry though, like if there was somebody in the game, some fed enemy in the game that's doing magic damage, I'd rather sit on some magic resist because that's going to do more for me since my base magic resist is already really low.
Well, they sort of intended to go like Mercurial Scimitar at that point.
Yeah.
Edge of Night is no longer an AD carry item because a lot of people got.
I don't think any of these were intended to be AD carry items, but
no, Edge of Night won't be right.
They're pretty good, so they are.
Mercurial's better. Like the only person that might buy Edge of Night is like Jhin. And that's just because Jhin doesn't get anything off attack speed other than extra damage. And
I mean, I can see situations where an AD carry would be up against like a team with more AD assassins and that type of thing going on, where they think actually it would be nice to have a spell shield for a brief moment like that. And so Edge of Night's going to be a lot more appealing than the other options that might have been available, since there weren't any.
Yeah, that's it. The spell shield is a 2-second channel out of combat. So that's the only thing you have to be proactive about hitting it, because if you don't, you've wasted the item and you've made it not cost effective anymore.
Yeah, it is hard to use.
It is. All right. I think I'm gonna start doing that from now on. I'm gonna start jumping this around. I know we want to go down and go top lane to bottom and stuff, but I think it breaks up the monotony of talking about champion changes to jump into some item changes. Do you want to talk about?
But there weren't any other big item changes, right, Pone?
Except for Ancient Coinline.
What about
Bramble Vest?
Bramble Vest. What is that? That sounds nifty.
Overpowered is what it is.
Broken Vest.
Tell me more.
Broken Vest. Bramble Vest is now cloth armor, 300 gold with 35 armor on it. Upon being hit by a basic attack, reflects 20 magic damage, inflicting grievous wounds on the attacker for 1 second.
Another way to get grievous wounds. Oh, it's like Christmas.
So if you're playing Swain and you're trying to weave auto attacks in between, don't weave them on the tank.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't this like kind of just hard counter Swain out of top lane now or something like that? I mean, at least against tanks.
Yeah.
And Tryndamere and like numerous other characters.
Anyone that's building a Blade of the Ruin King first. Yeah.
Yeah.
AD Cannon, screw you.
This item is the Sunfire Cape of 2017. If you guys remember when Sunfire Cape was powerful, this Bramble Vest is really, really good now.
And
and the thing it builds into
could get Cinder Hulk and then Bramble Vest and everything,
Well, Bramble Vest
Pretty
now
good.
builds into Thorn Mail. The total cost is 2,900 gold. It has 75 armor and 250 health. Upon being hit by basic attack, reflects magic damage equal to 25 plus 10% of your bonus armor, inflicting grievous wounds on the attacker for 1 second. When hit by a basic attack, cripples sources attack speed by 15% for 1 second.
I forgot that they added the Cold Steel passive to this. That's
Yeah.
OP as hell. It's so fucking overpowered.
Thornmail is nasty now.
Yeah, Thorn
Oh
Mail.
my
Yeah.
god.
The problem with that
like
is
as Dom pointed out yesterday, it's like an alternative to Randuin's Omen now.
Why would you buy Randuin's over this at this point?
Well, you'd still buy Randuin's for the crit damage reduction. So if you're playing against a Yasuo top lane for whatever reason, he's building crit early.
Okay.
Or
okay.
if there's
Realistically,
building
you would
crit
make
more than
both.
a lifesteal.
Really, I
Yeah.
think you would make both at some point.
Yeah, just
but
build
you're
both.
getting this first now.
Yeah, assuming your opponent's has some sort of lifesteal, yes.
Right. It's still a situational buy, right? Like, it's not the buy anymore where you're buying it 5th item or whatever to stop the 4th, 5th item like you were before, because all it gave you was armor and no health. It does make the item a little worse than it was previously, but it makes it more situational, which technically makes it better. And
it makes it less gold efficient because of that price increase.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a pretty big price increase. But you get a lot more from the passives that are added onto it.
So Dead Man's Plate is good, but does this make Dead Man's Plate kind of a frustrating item to get, because comparatively the components are just like, they don't feel nearly as good as like Thornmail, Sunfire Cape, that type of thing?
I think they satisfy like completely different. It was completely different reasons that you would buy either of them.
He doesn't mean the complete items. He means like the components.
Like the when you're sitting on the components.
I'm sorry.
But my opinion on that is no, because health is kind of a rare commodity to an extent right now, and Giant Belt is 1,000 gold, and you get 380 HP, which is a pretty significant portion of the Dead Man. Or is it 380 or is it 300? I can't remember. I can't remember if they changed it. It used to be 380.
I'm gonna look that up, because Giant's Belt you should build into a lot of things, and you're right. It's not used for everything anymore.
Yeah,
it's 380, and it's Dead Man's, Frozen Mallet, Randuin's again and that's new to this patch, and then Warmogs.
Yeah, so still 380. So yeah, I feel really good about picking up Giant Belt. Chain Vest is kind of like but I mean, you win some, you lose some.
Okay.
But
that was kind of...
I mean, Bramble's better, but do I feel bad about picking up Giant Belt over Bramble if I want Dead Man? Not really. Like, maybe depending on the matchup, but in that case, you would probably just get that anyway, right? You would just build the Thornmail instead.
Yeah. I was just curious. Like, I mean, there have been times in the past where you wanted the final product, but sitting on the components really sucked along the way. Hell, Aegis of the Legion was that for a long time.
It is a good point, though, that Bramble Vest is good enough to consider sitting on. Like, if you just need the early Grievous Wounds and then you need to build something else for whatever reason, the mid lane is fed, so you got to build Magic Resistance, then you can sit on Bramble Vest.
Let's, we talked about I got to hit my button here. Randuin's Omen. Did we talk about the total, how it hasn't changed, but it gets more life? Did you guys bring that up? I was looking up a Thornmail thing.
No.
Sorry.
No,
we didn't.
Yeah, it goes up 400. It now builds out a Giant's Belt, Warden's Mail, 900 gold, which goes to Todd's point. The Giant Belt feels really good to sit on, etc. So,
stop changing the build path, Riot. Confusing me.
To Dom, your point earlier, why would you build a Randuin's now? There's a significant health difference between Thornmail and Randuin's.
Yeah.
Let's talk
I forgot about that.
Let's talk about the ancient coin line, because Dom can feel vindicated to the point where he said this item is fucking trash forever, and they have finally changed it to make it better. Favor is upgraded to Emperor's Favor, and you now gain nearby allies gain 8% movement speed when moving toward you.
So ancient coin line, once you complete the quest, now gets Janna's passive. I think that is one of those sneaky strong things that people don't really appreciate about Janna. The number, like, I find myself very frequently just sort of leading my teammates to follow me because I know they're getting move speed and that will help them get out of trouble, even if they don't realize that's why I'm doing it. And so there are a handful of champions I feel like are going to become really, really good just when their teammates can either get closer to them, get into better position relative to the support, and that type of thing. And it's not just necessarily like backline champions like Soraka. Soraka will be good, or gets a lot better because of this, in my opinion. But like Rakan, I think, gets a lot out of this because he really wants his team to be able, I mean, A, you get the movement speed engage if you want it, but B, like, he just wants his team to be able to get closer to him once he's doing Rakan things. And I also think Thresh will be a lot better with this item than people are going to give him credit for. And remember, it builds out of a Raptor's Cloak, so it's not like this is just a bundle of regen stats that are otherwise useless. Like, you do get some tank stats along with that, so it's not nearly as unappealing as kind of history remembers it being. I don't know that it becomes the go-to item for Thresh. Yeah, I'm not saying that's going to be what happens, but I do think it becomes a lot more appealing for him. And giving your teammates 8% movement speed to me, like, is really, really, really valuable.
I like the ability to be able to give my teammates life while I'm in lane. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I'm just bringing up the counterpoint of why you would continue to build the runic shield line, because being able to give your, getting the extra gold more quickly, potentially, you get that whole get extra gold more quickly, get the boots, be able to roam, yada yada. There's all that whole line of argument. So it probably goes up based on your Thresh play style, or if you're playing pro or solo queue, right?
I mean, and Thresh is harder to do that on at all levels. Like, definitely bronze, silver, gold, like, you're going to struggle with it more, but you will frequently see diamond players complaining about Threshes who can't get that relic shield proc. And so it can even be difficult to be mindful enough to get the relic shield, or it can be challenging to get the relic shield proc. You'd otherwise be mindful of getting in a fight with, Alistar or Braum or something. I'm not saying that's not a reason to get Relic Shield on Thresh. It's a really good item. To me, it's no longer like a hardline choice every time. You can actually really make calculated decisions. The frustrating part still is that your quest progress does not carry over from one item to another. So if you start out with I loved starting out with Relic Shield on Alistar and then swapping to Talisman because the active is crazy good for him. If you do that, you have to start the quest completely over. So you really have to think about what you're going to want come mid and late game when you make this decision at the start of the game.
All fair points. Well, let's jump back to champions, since I think we covered most of the item changes. Rammus getting a change in this patch. His self-slow off a W is now down to 30% from 60%. There has been some concern that the Thornmail changes, since that it was his rush after Cinderhulk is going to make him significantly worse. But I think the defensive ball curl does more for that than the Thornmail changes.
Pretty nice buff, and he's been a really powerful jungler in solo queue anyways. So if the Thornmail change knocks him down a peg, it will still be really good.
Yeah, I don't see any.
I don't see the concern.
I don't really see.
He's still the best ganker in solo queue.
Oh, there were some mid-patch 7.13 changes. By the way, if you guys didn't catch those, new news: base health regen went down to 5/5. I think we talked about this before. His armor is down to 23, and Zach's stretching strike second hit range is down to 200. But you probably didn't notice any of these changes because Nunu's still at a 56% win rate, and Zach is still being banned permanently. So, I just hit my nose.
Great
changes. Great.
Yeah, I missed those for some reason.
There was
maybe that was the week I was on vacation.
Probably. There was a balance change to Rek'Sai that's not in the main patch notes. Void Rush now properly marks targets even when the damage is completely blocked by a shield. So that means that she jumps to the target no matter what. Is that how I'm reading this?
Is that what the mark means? Yeah, what does the mark mean? I forget already.
Oh, no, it means she can jump to the target because she marks them so that she can jump to them. So you can queue somebody.
So before, so before, like, you would hit him with an ability and she couldn't, or no, you would hit them and then it would absorb it and she wouldn't be dealing the damage because the spell shield blocked the mark. She wouldn't be able to cast it, right?
Right, because she could queue somebody with a shield and not be able to jump to them because they wouldn't be marked.
Meaning her ultimate.
Right.
Yeah.
Jump to them with her ultimate.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Blast cones no longer fizzle when triggered by a burrowed Rek'Sai at maximum attack range. So
okay.
Yeah. Ivern getting a change. This was actually in the bug fixes originally, or down near the bottom, and then they put his own little piece into the patch notes about it because this is a pretty gigantic change on Brushmaker. The cast range has been halved. It was 1600, it's now 800. And they were trying to fix this based on the amount of vision that it gives. They were trying to do some vision changes, and then they just gave Ivern a gigantic nerf and just slapped him across the face with it.
Screw you, Ivern.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, somebody in Riot's like super cool. They're like, all right, buff all the cool characters who have been weak for a long time, and then like nerf the hell out of all the OP champs all in the same day.
Yeah.
That is a huge nerf to Ivern.
Yeah, that's all you can really say about it, right? Just I think they said they're gonna hit this, and then they're gonna come back. They're gonna come back around to him and adjust him accordingly because they realize how big of a nerf it is.
AKA more nerfs.
Diana getting some changes in this patch. Her attack speed, her passive used to passively grant 20% attack speed. Diana's spellcast now grant 20% attack speed for her next 3 basic attacks. But she has had an additional piece added to her passive where Moon Silver Blade's attacks restore mana equal to 15% of Diana's ability power. Now I know if Santana was here, he would say that this wasn't needed because Diana's problem was never mana. So there. I specifically remember.
This is a bigger
that.
deal in mid lane, isn't it? Since you get more mana regeneration in the jungle.
I get it, but look at the change in the whole though, because the Q cooldown goes down, so you need the extra mana because you're going to be spamming more often.
Cooldown 10 to 6 now is 8 to 6, so you get 2 extra seconds off the top. Pale Cascade, the cost has been decreased from 60 to 100 to 40 to 100. And Moonfall, the attack speed increases Moon Silver Blade's attack speed bonus to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. That's her E.
Which is a lot of attack speed, but you need to put a point into Moonfall before you gain that attack speed, which again, when you look at Jungle Diana, I didn't think she was getting Moonfall early, right? She was getting that 3rd or 4th, or she was saving that for when she ganked.
Yeah.
Now she's going to have to get that, but does she have to get that at level 2 now just so you can get that attack speed bonus?
Probably.
Yeah, because you're going to want it. But at least you'll be doubling down on it. At least it'll make sense now because you'll need to cast the spell to get the passive attack speed too. So
Right. And that means that I guess her playstyle is going to change a little bit, or her spell rotation is going to change a little bit. Whereas now she has to weave auto attacks in between her spells as opposed to just blowing her load all at once.
I don't know what they're trying to do with Diana. She's just such a... She's a champion that
They say
she's a collie, right? Like you just need to land shit, jump in, and then blow people up and jump to some more.
Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of needed a rework for a really long time, and it feels like they're trying to avoid doing that with this.
They do mention that they plan on doing that. That
she needs it.
These are just changes in the meantime.
She's basically a shittier collie.
They're kind of confusing. Yeah. I guess they're buffs.
Yeah.
I mean, they are technically buffs.
Yeah.
They're just confusing.
Anivia changes. Crystallize no longer gives vision around the cast area. And it fixed a bug where several forms of loss of control effects, Fear, Flee, Taunt, Knockback, Charm, weren't properly canceling Glacial Storm. Nerf to Anivia.
Good.
Poor bird.
Can we nerf a Zillion, please? When Zillion tries to walk into range to activate passive time in a bottle at an out-of-range ally, he no longer casts his most recently used ability. Instead, once he gets into range.
What?
They
What
cleared.
happened?
They cleared up.
Yeah.
They cleared up his E so that like you can cast it. It makes more sense.
Yeah, more often than not, that's what's happening. Is like he would cast E instead of trying to using his passive.
All right.
And that's why a lot of people didn't notice it. They were always think, "Wait, did I hit?" Okay, well, whatever. I'll use my passive now.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get in range to give somebody experience, but instead he just makes them run away faster.
Yeah.
Wait, come back. Come back.
I never saw it happen, but I only time my played Zillion was harems. Caitlyn attack speed growth down to 2%. So this doesn't change the zeal or the other items. She's still getting that. She just doesn't get as much passive attack speed.
See ya.
Yeah, that's actually a big deal.
That's
for
huge.
an AD carry.
That's huge. That makes her like a lot worse in the early game.
But
Thank
it's
God.
almost
Good.
20% less cooldown reduction
God.
at max rank or max level.
Attack speed.
Yeah, sorry.
Good.
I can't speak.
Hit it harder. You know what?
Yeah.
Make her melee and smack with the butterfly gun.
I'm really tired of seeing that champion every game. So that's.
Yeah.
I even banned her yesterday. And I'm the one that plays her. I'm like, screw this. I don't want to see Caitlyn.
This is one of those few champions where I want to ban it because I'm in the Dom camp for this champion specifically where she needs to fucking be banned because her win rate doesn't match her play rate. She's got like a 20% play rate and a 53% win rate. That doesn't fucking make sense, right?
Don't worry, because you're only going to see Draven with duskblade.
No,
That's
Draven's
right.
Yeah, I'm banning Draven. I will leave Zach on the board before I leave Draven on the board at this
Draven's
point.
eating fucking bans. Let's talk about Alistar. Unbreakable Will damage reduction, which they have been for patches and patches and patches and patches, fucking with this R ability. Damage reduction now going back up to 55, 65, 75%. Isn't this what they changed
Maybe they got it right
a long
this time.
time ago? Where, like, it was, what was it, like 60, 70, 80, and now it went down to 50, 60,
Yes.
70, and now it's back into 55, 65, 75.
Every time they nerf it so that it bumps up with rank, Alistar ends up kind of he sees his play rate and his success rate go way down, and then they keep deciding, you know what, we'll just we're gonna put it at 70, but we're gonna do stuff with the amount of time that he can be in Unbreakable Will, and then his play rate skyrockets because he basically goes from being able to dive to being unable to dive because. Like early game, 70% damage reduction from turrets is huge. 50% damage reduction is not nearly as meaningful.
And then like they took the damage away from him finally, and now they're giving him the damage reduction back. Like they took the AD steroid.
I don't know that this is good enough.
Those bastards.
I think it's good enough now. I think with some of the changes, this makes it. Alistar has been slowly eking his way back into bottom lane.
It's really weird that at Pro Play, we're in a meta where Blitzcrank is seeing play all the time, and they're not picking Alistar, who is one of the best counters to him. It's really, really weird. And so that kind of tells me there's more... Maybe pros just are really overlooking this because they're hung up on hook champions or something else that's going on. But it's just as likely, or probably more likely, that there's something we're not putting together going on with this champion who makes him not as good in what should be a favorable meta.
Don't ask me, I don't play Alistar. Taric, the last champion to get a change in this patch. They have really done some weird shit with Taric. Base stats, right?
Confusing.
His mana regen has been increased because they changed Q and E. The mana regen growth has been decreased, so he gets more mana regen, but he doesn't get more over the. They just fucked with shit, right? Q.
He gets more mana regen early, but like I think
out.
net
It probably
really
breaks
lose
even
any.
late game. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Q. The healing per charge is now 30 plus 1% of Taric's maximum health with a 0.2% ability power ratio. The max charges now increases with rank. It was 3 at all ranks. It is now 1 to 5. The cost has been increased to 70 from 60 to 140 to 70 to 110. The cooldown is now 3 seconds. And the recharge rate is 15 seconds, which has been unchanged. Bravado empowered attacks reduce Starlight Touch cooldown by 1 second, instantly grants a charge. So the more times you spam abilities, the more charges you get, which means the more heals you can get off every 15 seconds. Or no, every 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds.
You can like chain heals almost indefinitely.
So
keep the
if you are using his the auto attacks from his passive, if every time you auto attack, it reduces the cooldown pretty immensely. I don't really understand why they phrased this cooldown 3 seconds and recharge rate 15 seconds because that confuses people more than anything else. But when I played him in the practice tool, I found that basically if you cast Q and then you auto attack something once, you are going to have another charge of Q available to you right away. The second auto attack is going to get you a second charge. Sometimes it felt like I got 2 charges right off the bat from one auto attack. I did not have enough time to play around to figure out the exact timing of everything that was going on here. But basically, once you're in combat, as long as you are auto attacking, which you should be doing anyway, as long as you are auto attacking, you are always going to have Q available. It's not going to be as strong as you are used to it because they reduced the effectiveness at the rank of the rank 1 charge, but it can get a whole lot stronger if you decide to sit on those charges for a little bit. And the problem, I guess, along with the dazzle changes here, which the damage went from 60 to 240. It's now up to 100 to 280, which is really good. That means you don't need to put as many points into Dazzle early to get meaningful damage out of it. The cooldown is actually longer. It was 15 at all ranks, and now it's 17 to 13. And the stun duration has been evened out. It went from 1 second to 1.5, and now it's just 1.25 seconds at all ranks. Taric mains are basically saying that instead of putting a couple points into Dazzle and then maxing Q, or maxing Dazzle and then Q, you are now going to want to put 1 point into Dazzle, and the priority from that point forward is Q. And that's because your heals are not going to be as big as you're used to them being when you're sitting in lane, especially until you hit level 5. I missed all of what you were doing, Adam.
I was fucking with my wife.
All right.
Everybody else heard everything because it was only the YouTube viewers. But yeah, so do you think this makes Taric better overall? Like the fact that you were spending a fuckload more mana, or could potentially spending a fuckload more mana, but does this make him better overall in the mid and late game T fights?
I think so. Part of what I like about it is that it just means you're going to have Q available, and so sometimes getting a really tiny heal off can be a difference maker. But beyond that, it means like you're pretty much always going to be keeping, the bonus from Windspeaker's Blessing on. And if you go the Ardent Sensor route, like you're going to be keeping the bonuses from Ardent Sensor on whoever your target or your partner is, and then anybody else around you. And that has a ton of difficult to appreciate value. I think Taric gets better because of these changes. I also think Taric was already really good and just kind of underappreciated because his ult is so powerful.
Well said. We'll have to see how it plays out.
I still don't know what the 3 second cooldown means, but whatever.
Yeah, it's confusing, man.
No, the 3 second cooldown. If you cast Q raw, there's a 3 second cooldown on it. If you auto attack, the 3 second cooldown goes to 2, 1, 0. Right? That's what that means. Recharge rate would be the number of stacks that you get over time. Yes, the cooldown would be 3 seconds.
Because if you cast Q raw, then you still have to wait 15 seconds to get 1 stack.
Right, because the stacks recharge like Heimerdinger stacks. There's a recharge rate in the number of stacks, because as you put points into it, you get more charges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So you could walk to lane with 5 charges. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a 3 second cooldown in between the casts, how many times you can cast Q. Unless you're auto-attacking, then that cooldown is decreased. Every time you auto-attack, that cooldown is decreased. So then you can spam Qs as long as you're auto-attacking. That's what that means.
It sort of seems like an unnecessary inclusion, because what you're describing, you actually can't do as Taric. There's no situation where you can cast that ability where you don't have a charge. So why are you including a cooldown on ability when you don't have a charge?
Don't ask me.
I'm just telling you, it's not like Heimerdinger where you get to pick where you're placing the turrets. Like you are using all the charges every time you cast the ability.
Thanks, Mary. But you're not getting extra healing. Oh, I guess you are getting healing per charge.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the heal increases per charge.
But you don't. But if you press Q, you're not using 5 charges. You're using 1 charge.
Yes, you are. No, you're using all 5 charges.
Then fucking.
Oh, I get it. So okay, I get it. So it's just so that if you use your Q, you'll have a 3 second cooldown. And if you say you had 5 charges, whatever, it doesn't matter how many, you use all of them. All they're doing is that, so if you auto attack right after that, you can't immediately do it. You still have to wait 2 seconds because you're only reducing it by 1. So 3 to 1, so you have 2 seconds minus whatever CDR you have to. So it's just so you can't Q with max stacks, auto attack, and then instantly Q like a half second later.
Right.
That's the only reason it's there.
You can pretty much do that. That was how it felt like when I was playing him.
But it's not a technical.
I will try to play. I will try to pay very close attention to that the next few times I play him. I'm just like, my experience was that if you were making sure to get your auto attacks in, you had Q available whenever you wanted it.
I'm sure this is really easy to figure out, right? Like once you see it in action, you go, okay, this is how it works.
Yeah.
It
made perfect sense once I played it. But reading it was confusing.
Why are you laying it out in this fashion where it's hard to understand? I don't know. Fuck you, Riot. That's why. By the way, Krug, medium Krug can be smited now.
I just wanted to say, I think there might be a squirrel outside Dom's window.
I don't know what's going on.
Dog seems to be
there were people
fascinated by something out there.
We're at 65 minutes total on this podcast. Don't forget you can now smite medium Krugs, and that is patch 7.14. We made it, boys.
We did it.
Woohoo, Garen
Conquered
buffs.
the patch.
Never thought they would happen.
I never thought they would happen.
Never thought we'd see the day.
Wait, is Marine Hillisun, right? Does that name ring a bell?
Huh?
Hillisun. Hylisan or Sian. Hilsian. Hilson.
Not,
Okay.
not really. Why?
Someone had posted, I didn't know if it was a troll post, someone posted in our league that they wanted Q to reduce armor on Garen, like when you lay
Oh,
on the Q.
Hashinshin.
His Shin, that's it, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
He's a giant troll, right? Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
he
wrong.
doesn't know any. I mean, he's like I guess he's like a good player, but he like feeds to get like challenger. That's like his legacy.
Right. That's it, his Shin. Right. I read that. I'm like, there's no way in hell they would ever give Garen a fucking armor shred on Q and then keep the armor shred on E, right? Like,
Yeah, and I was like, and I actually saw that, and I was like, dude, this guy doesn't know anything. I was like, good Garens will just open with E for the armor shred instead, and then use Q. Like, I'm like, have you not thought about that? Like,
no, he was just fucking trolling. All right, let's fucking call that, man. That's the episode. That's been 7.14. I gotta use the bathroom, and then all the good stuff. Play some video games.
all right, dog.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Have a
everyone.
good one. Peace.
Hey, guys.